talked about China a bit, but I'm really worried about this. What happens here? Because we rely so much on that little island. And we don't need it invaded, we just need it blockaded. So what we see in the Straits of Hormuz happening right now, 20% of the world's oil, OPEC can increase production. It'll take a few weeks to bring it offline, stabilize the markets. We don't have that luxury here. Not when it comes to the very things that powers the next generation of warfare and diplomacy and economic development.
I don't think the average person realizes how much the West relies on that little island.
90% of our, or at least here in the United States, 90%, as I understand it, that comes from that one island.
The chips that are in our electrical devices. Mm-hmm. Why don't they just move it over here?
They're trying.
They're trying, right?
Yeah. It takes years. Yeah. It takes years to get it cleared. It's very environmentally damaging. The infrastructure takes time. The expertise isn't here. All the IP that's on that island comes from the United States, but the actual factories have been there and will be there.
I guess there'll be a big labor cost impact as well.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Regulations, all kinds of things we have to work our way around and figure out how, and then, training the workers to be able to fabricate them, do it as efficiently, yield, results that are high enough.
So that's your concern?
Huge concern. I mean, our communications could shut down. Our cars could, so many things can go wrong if we lose the capacity to power the devices that we need.
What advice would you guys give? This is my last question, I promise. What advice would you give to the average person? Because we've talked theoretically about geopolitics, and the average person sat at home can't do a lot about that. But if you were to give advice to the average person who's thinking about their family, about their future, about their work, what would you say?
We are not helpless. It's not out of our control. But we do have to assert our control. There's a midterm election that could quasi-effectively block the decisions that the president can make unilaterally. If we exercise our right to vote, we create either a blue Senate or a blue House of Representatives. Arguably, we have demonstrated our ability to exercise our right to vote and taken back some semblance of control in our country. But unfortunately, I think people don't like waiting. They don't like taking 7 months before they can take an action. They want to do something right now. And we live in a country, in a democratic process, where we get a chance to exercise our power every 2 years. So we have to actually show up and exercise that power.
What are you doing for you and your family?
We're leaving the United States.
Why?
Because the United States is not going in the direction that I believe is the most conducive to the kind of citizen that I want to build in my children. I don't want my children to grow up in a country that is either afraid or angry. I don't want my children to grow up in a country that's constantly compromising its own democratic principles. I don't want to raise my kids in a country that puts capitalism before all other things. I want my children to grow up as global citizens, to recognize that we're all interconnected, to value every human life. I wasn't given the privilege. I was the perfect candidate to sit here and tell you that American lives are more valuable than everybody else. That's not what I want to pass to my children. Mm-hmm. I want my children to look at lives around the world as valuable, independent, individual blessings. And I can try to teach them that, but that's not the message that they get.
So where are you going to go?
That's for me to know. And
Costa Rica.
I remember this one. I remember this from last time.
Absolutely. Read as much as you can across the broadest spectrum that you can find, and have conversations about what you think you know and what you want to know with as many people as you can across the broadest spectrum you can. And don't be afraid to have a little bit of friction like we had here today. Mm-hmm.